Don't.
What? Hello? Hello, what about the video? Okay. Adam,
There you are. Are you Ingrid?
yeah, I look like Ingrid, right? I look like Ingrid, right?
I've got some customers called Ingrid. So if you look at the screen, yeah.
Right.
If you go up to your if you click on participants.
Okay, if I go, okay, this is starting at 9 o'clock, right? 4 o'clock your time, right? This is starting in
20
19 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
go
correct.
where now? Go where?
So put your
Participants. I see participants.
yeah. So click on that.
All right, I clicked on participants.
Now a window opens on your right-hand side,
Right.
I assume. Yeah.
I gotta change the name there, right?
Yeah. Just change your name to Richard Marcus.
Okay,
Yeah.
change this to Richard Marcus. 1 second, Adam, I'm doing it.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, but okay, by the way, I'm doing a PowerPoint with you know, a lot of talking. That's what I'm gonna do. Okay.
Oh,
Okay. Okay, and now it says Richard
yep,
Marcus. Okay.
perfect. Now what I'm doing now, okay, is I'm making you. Oh, 1 second, 1 second, 1 second, 1 second. Right. Hold on tight. I'm going to log in. I'm going to log in slightly differently, and then I'll make you the host, so then you can share your screen. Okay.
Okay.
Give me 2 seconds.
Okay. Okay. Just give me 30 seconds. I got to change my shirt. Okay. Hold on. Okay, Adam, should I share the screen now? I can't hear him.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, I can hear him. Okay. Okay, you said I should share the screen now, right?
Yeah, you can share the screen now, yeah. I've made
Okay,
you
go ahead.
host.
Scare the shit. Okay.
There you go.
Okay, you can see that, right?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, so okay, so we're ready to go like at 9 o'clock. If I just said stay here and wait till 9 o'clock, we're ready to go.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Okay, so what I'm gonna do, I'm going, oh, by the way, do you want me to give a like introduction to my past history and all that stuff?
Yeah, yeah. Just give an introduction to yourself and what have you, and then and of course mention your conference at the end of the end
I
of the
will.
thing, right?
I will. Now I'm going to talk about, like you know that I was a professional casino chief for a long time. You know that, right?
Exactly. That's why
You,
you're working with me.
I figured that. All right, so I'll mention that, and then I'll mention, how I got into table games and all that, and I'll go from there. Okay,
Perfect.
yeah, that's cool. No problem. Okay, so
you won't hear anything from me, okay, unless there's a major problem, yeah, where I'll just say, hey, we can't hear you, I can't see you, or whatever, right?
okay.
I'm going to be in the background just working out who's turning up to this thing. So I'm going to send an email to everybody else now saying that, hey, class starts in 10 minutes, etc. And then within the minute of the start time, you feel free just to start and people will start joining, okay?
Okay, sounds good. Okay, so and when I end it, I'll just say, and and I hope to see you. What are the dates? June 18th? What is it? When does it start, my class?
1 second. June, June 21, June 22.
Okay, so when I finish, I'll say, okay, and I'll see everybody June 21st.
Perfect.
Okay, sounds good, Adam. Okay, so
Excellent.
I'm not going to touch anything. I'm just going to leave it here, and I got my wife here helping me to control the PowerPoint.
Wonderful. Perfect.
Okay.
That makes me
Okay.
feel better.
Yeah, I'm a complete zero with this stuff, believe me. But I'm a good talker, so that's what's important. All right.
No worries, my friend. No worries. I'll speak to
Okay.
you soon. Bye.
Okay. See? Oh, yeah. I should just. Okay, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you might be. My name is Richard Marcus, and I am going to be giving you this class called The Most Important Facets of Your Table Games Operation. Now, I'd like to say one thing before I begin is that I generally do not give PowerPoint presentations. I like audience participation. I like to really keep it moving. And so we have some fun while we're doing it. So you're just not looking at a screen and me making points and all that. I will have the PowerPoint here as a guide, but please feel free to speak or ask questions or make comments or answer my questions, not only for this sample session, but also for the real classes that begin on June 21st. Okay, so who am I and what am I doing here? Kind of a little bit of a weird story because believe it or not, for some of you might know this, but those of you who don't know me, for 25 years, I had a career as perhaps the best casino cheat in the world, or the most notorious casino cheat in the world. I went around casinos all over the world, cheating casinos out of significant sums of money. So how did I get from there to here? Well, after my casino cheating career, I wrote a book about my exploits, and it became very popular in the gaming industry. And I was invited to a game protection conference to speak because the industry had never really heard from a real live professional casino cheat before. Surveillance people, what they knew about cheating was mostly they learned from other surveillance people. So the industry was very eager to hear from me, and I wrote my book, and then I became a consultant to casinos, teaching them and training their staffs, mainly in game protection. And as you know, I began this about 15, 16 years ago. And as this went on and I trained more and more casinos, I got more involved in the table games part of it, because table games and surveillance, they kind of go together. So this led me to obtain a lot of knowledge about the whole table games operation, and I'm constantly in contact with people in artificial intelligence and analytics and all that. So I more or less became an expert on most facets of table games operations. Okay, so let's begin now with the first mini topic, and it is called how to implement table games analytics and obtain the information to help you make the best operating decisions. Okay, first of all, what is analytics? Analytics is simply the collection of data based on what happens in your casino that will help you statistically decide what's the best avenue to take regarding many types of decisions you need to make to enhance your operation. So what's the most important thing to do? The very first thing to do when you start to get into analytics? Well, I believe it's find a leading analytics company to research and analyze data relating to your operation. There are many of them. The one I'm most familiar with is called Tangam or Tangam. I'm not exactly sure of the pronunciation of it. And the person I know there, his name is Ari Mizrachi, and he is one of the leading people in the world in table games analytics. Now, what types of data is most important in analytics? Where does the data come from? Anybody want to interrupt me and tell us? Okay, I will then go ahead and I will explain. Okay, the data comes right from the tables. The artificial intelligence involved in this analyzes who's playing what games, how much money is being bet, where the games are located, how does that affect the overall operation? Or is a blackjack table on one side of the casino doing better than a blackjack table on the other side of the casino? Should that make you think about moving all your blackjack tables to one side of the casino? All this data all this big data that gets fed into the system is what the analytics is. And then the data needs to be analyzed. And once it's analyzed, you make your strategy decisions once you have the complete analytics report. Okay. How to obtain and maintain the best customer experience for your player. Okay, well, the answer to that is fairly obvious. Simply give them what they want. How do you know what they want? It's all in the analytics. It tells you what the table games customers prefer. It tells you where they like to play those games in your casino. Like I just mentioned, are the games, a certain location they favor? All these little things matter. It tells you how they bet. It tells you how willing they are to try new games they haven't played before, which really helps casino operators make decisions on which new games they want to bring into their casino, because new games is taking an increasing share of the casino floor. They're becoming very popular. Most of the new games are, of course, versions of the same old games, but it has a new twist to it that seems to draw in new players. What percentage of your customers smoke? Do you need a non-smoking section in your casino? It's all in the analytics. Analytics is just really everything now. And when evaluating players, this is very important. It tells you who your real players are based on how they bet. And, because there are some people that are in casinos, they're trying to show, a lot of action, a lot of big action, but they're really looking for comps or promotions or stuff like that. And they're not real gamblers. So analytics helps you evaluate who your premium players are, and also gives you information what you need to do to keep those premium players, because of course the most important customer to you is your premium player. And another thing that is on the cusp now of analytics, and this is really amazing to me, do some of your players have a gambling problem you need to address? It appears now, and there's more evidence to support this, that analytics and artificial intelligence can even, by seeing the patterns of the way people bet. I'm not talking about like physical reactions of a player when they're losing, they're getting mad. I'm talking strictly on the data. Some betting patterns suggest that a player might have a gambling problem. And, this is a very touchy or delicate situation that casinos have to know how to handle, because in Europe, especially, a lot of casinos have a self-bar rule. I mean, I believe it's in most jurisdictions, but it seems to be used more in Europe than, say, in the United States, where a person can actually bar himself from the casino because they have a gambling problem. And if the casino sees the data that says they have a gambling problem, they may get involved in trying to help that person in some way or another. Okay, so that's a basic description of analytics, and of course I will get much more into this in the regular classes. Okay, the next thing here, how to market your table games and develop your player base. Okay, so it's like two sides, okay? Marketing is on one side and your player base is on the other side, and then they come together because they're both integral to your operation. So my first point here, first and foremost, make sure you have good marketing and player development teams. They go hand in hand. Get your analytics data and push the marketing of the games you see gaining popularity. Now, just a little while ago, I mentioned new games, and sometimes new games, the real hot ones, they take off immediately, and all of a sudden, you'll notice from the analytics that more and more people are playing them, and sometimes for more and more money. And once you see a game going like that, you shouldn't just stop marketing it and say, okay, we got this thing going and it's really, it's a no-brainer. It's going to keep, earning a lot of money, but you want to keep pushing the marketing of a game while it's hot. That's very important. And on the other side of that coin, don't waste time with losers. If a game is struggling in your casino for a period of time, get rid of it. Okay. Even if across the street from you, the casino, that same game is in another casino across the street from you and it's doing wonderful, but in your casino, it's not. So you might say, well, if it's doing well there, it has to do well here eventually. That does not appear to be true. So just get rid of it and go on to, if it's in a new game space, just go in and put in another new game or put back the original game that you had there before. Don't wait for losers to turn into winners. It doesn't happen that much. Okay, and so push the promotions of these games that are on the rise. And remember, players love promotions. There's so many of them. I can't name them here. You all know about that, but they love promotions. So when you marry promotions to a game that's already on the rise, it's going to turn into a major big hit game. Now, but also be aware of the pitfalls of promotions and make sure the math works. What do I mean by that? Well, there's been some very famous cases where the casino has over promoted, or I should say over promotions, given too many promotions, and players, very shrewd players, especially players that come from the advantage play world, know how to take advantage of this, where they actually tip the odds in their favor. So you're dealing these people games that they actually have the house edge against you. Back about, I believe it was about 15 years ago, was a man called Don Johnson, who took advantage of Atlantic City Promotions because he was a super high roller, a super preferred player, right? In the United States, they call them a whale, somebody who's a super big player and is always tipping the dealers, okay? He beat the Atlantic City casinos out of $15 million just because the Atlantic City casinos did not do the math on their promotions, and they didn't realize they were giving him an advantage much larger than their own house advantage in casino games. So be very careful about that. Use your promotions, but be careful that they're not going to tilt the game in the player's favor. Okay. Player development. This is hugely important. It is part of marketing, but this is the difference between marketing and player development, is that player development is on a human to human level. Okay, it's contact directly with your players. It's not mass marketing. Okay, so why is player development important? Okay, say you have a player that you see he's and the team, the player development team, needs to identify who these players are and how do they do it. If they don't see it, they get the analytics reports and they can select who their players might be, their important players might be. So this is important because once you get a player that's let's say he's a middle player, let's say he's he's a $25 player or a $50 player, and you've identified him from the analytics, and you think that, well, this player, he's an executive, and he lives in a good neighborhood, or all the tools that player development uses, and you determine, or your player development people determine, that he could be turned into a bigger player. Now, you don't want to, of course, you don't want to turn players into degenerate gamblers. That's not what it's about. But there are, and by and large, most of your high rollers and super high rollers are not degenerate gamblers. They're just people that have tons of money. So you want to develop a relationship between the casino and the player, so he stays at your casino. You don't want him being a $25 player in your casino, and then he, for some reason, he's unhappy with your casino, and then he's across the street playing $50, $100 or more. So how do player development people do this? They interact humanly with the players. And by that, I mean, they don't come up to a player and introduce themselves and say, how do you like this game? Or they don't promote the game right away. They don't promote the casino right away. They look, from the research, they look to get common ground. You see a player development person sees a high roller or a potential high roller wearing a Manchester City soccer jersey. So what's smarter, to go up to him and talk to him about the casino, or go up to him and talk to him about football, or I should say soccer, for those of you in the US, right? Obviously, you want to strike a conversation with the player about something outside of the casino, common interest. Have you a player development person could say, how do you find the food in the place? You like the food? What kind of food you like? You like Chinese food? Anything and everything. Talk about clothes, cars. But the point is that Nick Ippolito, who is the greatest player development trainer that I know, he talks about this all the time, and it's very important that obviously your player development people have really good personalities, because that's what draws people to them and then to your casino. Okay, so I just spoke about that the best thing they do is to strike common ground with target players, and the ultimate goal here is to take your players that are so-called C and B players and turn them into A players. And I just covered that as quickly as I could in this short sample session. So we will now move on to the next phase. Okay, the next phase is how to train table games floor staff in dealing and supervising the games. Now, when we talk about table games training, there's several aspects of it. Let's start with the dealing. Don't forget one thing, that the dealers in your casino, not only are they running the flow of your whole entire table games operation, in spite of analytics, in spite of everything else, they're the people running your show. Of course, the supervisors are watching them, and of course the pit bosses are watching them, and of course the eye in the sky, which is surveillance, is watching them. But it is your dealers who are really running the show. Okay, so what is the most important thing in how to train your dealers and your supervisors? Okay, there's two things. It's the deal of the game, okay, or actually three things: the deal of the game, protection of the game, and relationship with the customer. Now, relationships with the customers, that's opinion. Some casinos like when their dealers are interactive and talking and having a good time with the patrons, in the goal that's going to be like a player development thing. But remember, dealers are not player development people, so that's not their job. Other casinos, especially I would say more in Europe than in the United States, maybe so in the UK, where the dealers are kind of they don't speak much. They're very laid back, withdrawn, and that's the way the casinos want it, because you have a much quieter atmosphere in European casinos than you do in American casinos. So that's more or less something that each casino or each jurisdiction more or less decides for themselves. I really don't have an opinion on which is the better way to go. But what I do have an opinion on is, first and foremost, have an in-house training department, even if you send your dealers to outside dealer schools. Now, some casinos, some of you have your own more or less like dealing school, where you have a training room with tables and the dealers practice, and you have one trainer or a few trainers on your staff. That's all they do is train dealers. And, I think that's a very good idea. And for those of you who because in In the United States, outside dealing schools have become less popular. Back, 20, 30 years ago, almost no casinos had the training for dealers inside their casinos. They all went to dealing schools, but that's really gone down. But I see in Europe, in the UK and in Italy, especially, that the dealing schools are still very popular. So if you're sending your dealers to and maybe your supervisors too to dealing schools, it's very important to continue the in-house training, at least from time to time, so everybody stays sharp. Methods might change, or if you're a sharp table games operator and you have sharp people on the floor, they might notice that a bunch of dealers have developed a bad habit. And how do you correct this en masse? You bring all the dealers and the supervisors into your in-house training, and you go over what's been going wrong, what's happening on the tables that should not be happening. So continue training dealers on the job with periodic training sessions in-house. Now, very important point, the people who are trainers, like, okay, I mentioned like player development people, they need to be Mr. and Mrs. Personality. Now, Mr. and Mrs. Trainer need to be skilled, of course. They need to have, of course, they all have to be ex-dealers or croupiers, I should say, maybe for you European people, and patient people. You want the best trainers are the ones who are patient, the ones who can watch a dealer make the same, or a trainee make the same mistake 20 times and just keep working with the person until they get it right. So very, very important. Now, and also, there should also be supervisors present at some of these dealer training sessions, either in-house or outside. Okay, and now as far as training supervisors separately, now, of course, almost all supervisors at one time were dealers, so they've already been through the dealer training, in spite of the fact that there's still, if things are going correctly, they should still be present to some degree at dealer training sessions in-house. But supervisor training is very relevant, especially when it comes to implementing new procedures, because they're the ones that have to pass it down directly to the dealers. So to encapsulate all of this, training, and more training. Okay, let's move on to the next facet of this sample session. And it is called game and asset protection. Very, very, very important. And obviously, this is my real field of expertise, because that's what I do now. I train casinos all over the world in game and asset protection. So what is it? How important is it? Well, it is what it says, game and asset protection. You have to protect, let's talk about the casino floor. You have to protect your games from people like the former Richard Marcus, because a person like myself, I walk into a casino, I was a big danger. I was not giving them any money. I was walking in the door and I was coming out with a lot of money. Why? Because I took advantage of the fact that the dealers and the supervisors were not following procedure. Were they not following procedure because or should I say, was this the fault of, let's say, the dealers and the floor supervisors manuals, game protection manuals? No, I've never seen in my 20, well, let's say my 15 or 16 years training casinos and game protection, I usually ask to see their game protection manual. I've never seen a bad one, not once in my life. Every single one of them I've seen are really, really effective in protecting their casinos if they are followed. Okay, it's one thing about having a great manual, for game protection. It's another thing if it's being passed down from the high level table games people and surveillance people on down to the dealers and the surveillance operators. So that is what I can't stress enough. training and studying the manuals to make sure everything is going right, and hiring from time to time, hire a game protection consultant like such as myself or other people, and that will really help you protect your games. That's how important it is. Now, specifically, what is table games function in game protection? Like, because usually I say the word game protection, and I like the old game password. You know, you give a word or a phrase, and the person, your partner, has to guess the word, right? So if we're playing password and I say game protection, what are people going to say? Are they going to say table games, or are they going to say surveillance? Yeah, okay, you all guessed it right. They're going to say surveillance. But guess what? For me, table games is more important to table game staffs are more important to game protection than surveillance, believe it or not, for many reasons, one of which they are closest to the action. They're the first line of the defense. Okay, surveillance is not the first line of defense. Surveillance is busy with the other part of this, the asset protection. Surveillance is busy with slip and falls. Surveillance is busy with possible armed people in the casino, possible shootings in the casino. I mean, there's inside employee scams, the casino cage. Something's going on in the restaurant. Somebody's stealing a person in the a cashier in the restaurant is stealing. I don't want to give the impression here that casino employees are stealing more than any other people in any other industry. That's not true. I'm just giving examples of surveillance has become a very, very busy department, and it's gotten more and more away from game protection as the years have gone by. You know, 20, 30, 40 years ago, all surveillance did was watch the games. And it's not like that anymore. So who does it fall on now? Who has to watch the games? Table games. Your dealers should have some knowledge of cheating and what's going on. Right now, some people say, when I train casinos at their property, I prefer that the table games people and the surveillance people attend the sessions together. Some people are afraid, well, that's no good. You know, you might be setting up a possible scam between the table games, or let's say the supervisors and the people that work in surveillance. And you know, it's better they don't, you know, some casinos don't even allow their surveillance people to be known to the table games people. I mean, I don't believe there's too many left like that, but there are some. But, you know, my opinion is, if somebody's determined, an employee is determined to steal from your casino, whether it be table games, surveillance, cashier, whatever it is, they're going to do it. Okay, it's a very, 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 very tiny percentage of the people, they're going to do it. So I feel that if you don't train your departments properly, table games and surveillance together, I think that's going to cost you a lot more money than worrying about the fact that that type of training is going to have a negative effect and promote or make it easier for employees to cheat. And don't forget, most of the really, really, really dangerous cheats out there, they don't need you know, they don't need anybody from table games to help them. They don't need anyone from surveillance to help them. You know, when I was a cheat for 25 years, I can't explain to you how I did this, because it would take a whole class, but I actually used surveillance to help me cheat and get a lot of money out of casinos without surveillance knowing it. I actually wanted them to film me while I was cheating, because they didn't know what they were seeing on the film. Okay, now they do. Now the ones that I train, they do know these kind of things. But you know, just to bring home the point, is train your table games and your surveillance department together. And you see that point here on my PowerPoint. Is there a 50-50 balance in your casino? Okay, well, first, okay, what is your surveillance department's function in game protection? It's basically, you know, it's almost like surveillance is also getting more and more into analytics. Basically, they catch on to scams through analytics. They see something in the data, that's telling them that something's going on. You know, if a table is losing money or over a period of time, they analyze that. Why is it losing money? What kind is it possible a cheating scam is going on? Is this an inside employee scam with a dealer or with a supervisors? You know, they have to investigate that. But as far as actually surveillance, now listen to this. A lot of surveillance people may not want to admit this, but in my 25 years cheating casinos, 25 years, never once, not one time, did any surveillance operator in the world ever catch one of my cheating moves in real time. Not one time. Okay. The only chance surveillance has of catching a cheating operation in real time is if it is a repetitive cheating operation where somebody's sitting at a table for a long time, marking cards, you know, like you see him doing something with the cards, or top hatting, as you call it in Europe, or which is called bet pressing or pass posting. The amateur cheats that sit at a table and they do it time and again and they keep repeating it, and finally somebody gets suspicious. Maybe surveillance is going to catch that in real time, but a real professional cheat. When I was cheating casinos, the time of my actual cheating move was less than 1 second. So what are the chances that a surveillance department is going to be there and see that in my cheating move in less than 1 second? And even if they see it, what are the chances they're even going to know it's a cheating move? Okay, so table games people need to be aware of what game protection is about, and they need to understand all this, because they will recognize the first signs that a cheating scam is going on. And some sharp table games people who really are knowledgeable in game protection might be able to stop a scam before the cheats get out of the casino with the money. And remember, it's nearly 100% of the time that the cheating is not recognized in today's casinos until the money's already gone. Okay. Now, I'm not saying the table games department on the floor is going to be able to stop the money from being gone, but I am saying if you have a sharp table games department in game protection, a lot less money will be gone by the time the casino picks up on the scam. So that's what I mean by, is there a 50-50 balance in your casino? Game protection works from the floor up to surveillance. Right? It doesn't work from surveillance down to the floor. It doesn't work like somebody from here and up here in surveillance calling your table games people down here and saying, okay, you got to cheat here on BJ4 or craps 4 or roulette 6. It works this way. Table games people need to inform surveillance what's going on. Table games people really are a form of analytics for the surveillance people upstairs. So that's how it should work. Believe me, I know this. Okay. So what kind of trading needs to take place in game protection? Well, unfortunately, a lot of casinos don't have the budget to hire independent game protection consultants. But if you can have somebody like me or somebody else, I'm not the only one out there, and have them come in and do some game protection seminars for your casino, they're very, very helpful. Do you need outside trainers? Who would be best qualified? Yes, you do need outside trainers. Who would be best qualified? Well, let me ask you a question. Would you rather learn to fly a plane from the captain of a 747? Well, I know there's no more 747, but I like to use that phrase. A captain of a 747 with 30 years of experience flying the plane, or in a flight simulator? Okay, I think the correct answer is from the captain of a 747. Okay, so who would you rather have game protection from? Somebody who's actually done it and been a cheat for 25 years, or somebody who's learned the cheating and read about the cheating and knows the moves, but really doesn't know how to do it, doesn't know the psychology behind it? Because psychology, I'm not going to get into this now because this is not a class on cheating casinos, but the most important thing in professional casino cheats professional casino cheating operations is psychology. It's how they make you believe they're high rollers when they're not. And these are something that someone like myself or other ex cheats would know. And finally, why do casinos sometimes fail when it comes to surveillance? Well, if we go back up to point number 5 on the PowerPoint here, is there a 50-50 balance in your casino? The answer to that in almost every case is no, and that's why casinos, I should say, often fail when it comes to surveillance, because there is no communication between the two most important departments on as far as your casino operation goes: table games and surveillance. And by most important, I should say, as far as the actual play at the tables, because no department is more important than marketing or player development or anything like that. Okay, so to summarize, we're going to do the classes on the 21st and 22nd of June. And I also would like to mention, to some of you may already know this, that on June 6th through June 9th in Las Vegas, I am conducting a major table games conference at the Excalibur Hotel in Las Vegas. My website is, I idiotically forgot to put it here on the end of this PowerPoint. My website is richard@richardmarcusbooks.com. richard@richardmarcusbooks, BOOKS.com. Or you could just Google me, Richard Marcus Casino, and you'll fall on my website and you'll see the conference. We will be covering everything, all these things I just mentioned, to the 20th power. We're going to have the best artificial intelligence people maybe in the world at this casino. We're going to be talking about all of this. We're going to be talking about electronic table games cheating with visual ballistics and all kinds of new ultra modern cheating techniques. And so this is going to be a great conference. So if some of you guys have if your casinos have it in the budget, you really should miss this. You really should miss it. Sorry, you really should not miss this. That's I can't believe I just said that. Okay, you really should not miss this, because this is a one in a decade thing. And I also have a LinkedIn account. You can see all my posts about this conference on LinkedIn. And I want to thank you very, very much. And I will see you at the full classes in June. And before I go, does anybody have any questions? Speak now or forever hold your peace, or at least until June 21st. Okay, nobody has any questions. I hope you enjoyed this little sample session, and see you in June.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, leave it on. Okay, it's on.